Drage gledalke, dragi gledalci, pozdravljeni v Paradi plesa. Oddaji, kateremu, to je dan s plesom, je odličen dan. Dunajski plesni festival ImPulsTanz, ki se vsako poletje odvija na Dunaju, je tako obširen, da ga tudi naša ekipa ne more stlačiti samo v eno reportažo. Zato ste vabljeni, da si ogledate drugi del reportaže.
Tírate, 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 pégate, 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 pégate. Solo sé quiero estar contigo. Solo sé que quiero ser tu wifi.
Priprava plesalcev je seveda nujna in na festivalu ImPulsTanz dajo delavnicam, ki krepijo telo, velik pomen. Recimo mojstrica pilatesa Gabriela, ki je rojena v Trevizu, ima svoj pilates center na Dunaju. Njena kariera pa sega od plesalke različnih stilov do treninga performerjev v slovitem Cirque du Soleil.
You can say Pilates in 3 words: stretch, strength and control. Why? Because stretch, we don't separate. Every exercise you stretch some muscles, and with the spring you strengthen at the same time. So the springs are like the muscles. But we have also floor work without apparatus. So Jose Pilates developed the springs because the people could feel better. But on the floor, on the mat, what we do everywhere, it's easier because we don't have to transport, but it's harder. Why it is harder? Because you have no help, only your own strength, your own control. So Pilates was called contrology, not Pilates. Maybe nobody is aware about this, but Pilates became very popular, and that's why they call it the Pilates method. But actually, he wrote also many books, and he used to call contrology, the art of control. They know that they can make their career longer if you're really seriously, professionally dancing, or yes, they also, other artists, they need to protect and have a long career. So some of them they are really aware about, and they are looking specific for that because they know it's something good. They've heard somehow. Then they try it and they know why. They understand in their body, not because somebody told them or because they read somewhere. But it's a trend, yes, it is. So that's why we have Pilates everywhere. When I started 25 years ago, there was nothing. So,
You're sort of pioneer of Pilates in Vienna, yeah?
Yes, this school, this is original. I call original Pilates because I studied with Romana. Romana's Pilates International. It's an association. It's in Florida and New York and all over the world. I studied personally with Romana. She was a ballerina of the American Ballet Theatre. She got an injury. George Balanchine brought her, go to Jose Pilates. And then after 5 sessions, she was feeling better, and she became then the student of Jose Pilates. And today she would have 101 years. So Romana is in my heart, my good teacher and friend has been, but the daughter, she's the last student. She's also in contact with me and in Europe, and I see her regularly. So her daughter, she met Jose Pilates when she was 14. So we still have the original. So I'm very close because actually why I call it original, because of the trend. It's good to move, it's good that people are moving, but the really original Pilates, you don't change anything. It's everything in it. You have just to go deeper and study and understand the essence.
Ne samo plesalci, pač pa tudi vsi ostali se zavedamo, kako pomembno je gibanje. Newyorčan Ori Flomin je stalni gost dunajskega ImPulsTanza. Joga in šiatsu mojster, ki vedno išče povezave med plešočim telesom in naravnim gibanjem, ne glede na plesne izkušnje udeležencev njegovega workshopa.
I recently teach more movement that relates to the idea of the healing from shiatsu and kind of taking qualities of how to find healing through movement with the 5 elements. So I wanted it to be open for everybody and not just to gear towards the professional dancers. So one thing that I did is I don't teach within this workshop choreography, so you don't have to feel that you're a trained dancer. And I say that anybody who likes to move can come, and I say you can dance as wild as you want or as little as you want. But it really is an opportunity to everybody discovering movement in their body and the joy of movement in their body through this idea of the elements. And I just love it that that it opened up the possibility to people of all ages, people who are not trained dancers, and some trained dancers. So it's really creates such a nice community, not only professional dancers. The idea of shiatsu and the Eastern philosophy of healing is a continuous process of staying in a state that you are well-being and you care for yourself. So you don't get to this point of getting sick and need more help. So the healing is just, as I see it, is part of life, that we continue this process. So you find the idea like how healing happens in nature, that it's a constant part of this earth rotating and the day starting and the night coming, like we're part of this cycle, and how we stay healthy in this cycle is the continuous of not being healed in a way of like saved, but just being healed in feeling good with ourselves, both physically and emotionally and mentally. It kind of brings it all together.
Urjeva kolegica Astrid Louise, tudi mojstrica joge, a še bolj prepoznavna kot plesalka in učiteljica kavbojskega plesa, vedno navduši. Na Dunaj prihaja že desetletja s svojimi prepoznavnimi kratkimi hlačami, kavbojskimi škornji in klobukom.
You just find joy in movement. And when you have that joy, that is the freedom. So the thing that I love about line dancing is it's simple enough to be able to access the dance, right? And then you're just in community and you're not responsible for the dance. You're not responsible for like the choreography. You're not, right? There's nothing you're responsible for except for your own joy that you bring to the dance. So I think there's a lot of the social dance forms, like a lot of the forms that we saw in the expressions now, like with Latin jazz or hip hop or like flamenco, all of this like footwork, very similar, but it's also these like community dances, call and response, right? They're like, you're communicating in the dance. You're not in isolation. And that's also part of the joy. It's very special. It's a very unique, special place that is growing and expanding, and each year is more inclusive in its expansion. And so there's there's a dynamicism that is like, yeah.
Pa poglejmo sedaj na profesionalne dunajske odre. Na zaključni tiskovni konferenci se je direktor Karl Regensburger pohvalil ponovno z izjemnimi številkami. 150 predstav, od tega 38 avstrijskih premier, je bilo 98% razprodanih. V zadnjih dneh festivala, ko sem bila na njem prisotna tudi jaz, sem si ogledala 7. Moja mantra ples na plesni festival je seveda že dolgo zastarela. Na srečo je nekaj upanja na plesne odre vrnila Lucy Goren, avstralska koreografinja z duetom How to be Us in Split, ter s plesalkama požela velik aplavz.
I hope that people will be interested in just dance as a form, interested in the way that the movement and the structure of the work can give a message. And I think for me the main thrust of this work is that the space that the dancers perform in and the time that they perform each section gets smaller and smaller, and for me there's a sense of this constriction of land and shrinking of resources in our world, both in terms of the planet, but also the time that we have. And so I think this is one of the things I hope that the audience understands from the work. We're a little more internal, I guess, because we're not exposed to as many influences. I think we're very interested in movement, and there's some really fascinating works coming out of Australia now from younger people, where they're really going quite deeply into certain movement practices.
Med zvezde festivala seveda sodi tudi francoski koreograf Jérôme Bel, ki ima na festivalu posebno mesto, enako kot Wim van de Key, Bospana, Teresa de Kersmaker, pa mogoče Akram Khan. No, Jérôme je na oder Volksteatra postavil svoje najnovejše delo z naslovom No Human Dance in z antropološkim pristopom razmišlja o današnji ekološki krizi skozi prizmo legendarnih plesnih komadov. No, večini se je zdela predstava podobna šolski učni uri plesne zgodovine.
The problem I'm dealing with is very, very complex. It's a new problem, which is the ecological crisis, and nobody knows how to deal with it. There is so much emotion, so much fear, anxiety. So we cannot do, at least I cannot do just a dance, just a regular performance. Everything has to be articulated, contextualized, explained to see how difficult this problem is. So that's why I had to add this very scientific in a way, because she's an art historian, to put in words what I could feel, but that was not enough to feel. So she's here with me and she taught me a lot of things about the consequences of our representation in Western culture about our relation with nature. And this is something very new that anthropologists are now revealing, that our Western culture separated from nature since 16th century with capitalism, of course, because it's not only it's very about economy, how you commodify nature and plants and animals, which was not the case before, and which is not the case in some other cultures where nature is part of the life of humans, and it's us, we call it naturalist, meaning that at one point, and especially with French philosopher Descartes, who said, no, we're us humans are totally different, and we are superior, and etc. So, and all this historical thing brought us to this crisis we are in, you know. It's not sustainable anymore, and we're going to, we don't know, and maybe to something very bad.
Ekologija je bila prisotna tudi pred in na predstavi Make Banana Cry, ko smo si gledalci morali čez obuvala natakniti plastične vrečke za smeti, ki so po predstavi seveda končale v kantah za smeti. Koreografa Andrew Ty in Steven Thompson sta požela precejšen aplavz, jaz pa nekega smisla v banana predstavi res nisem našla. Ekologija seveda ni bila edina tema nastopajočih. Kot že mnoga leta do sedaj se ukvarjajo z LGBT kulturo, krščanstvom, medsebojnimi odnosi, vojnami in različnimi konfrontacijami. Domačinka Silker Grabiner, ki sicer tudi odlično vlada hip-hop in breaking, je v 150-minutnem performansu oziroma instalaciji s psom robotom odkrivala, kdo je glavni, človek ali robot.
First time when I was standing in front of a 3.5-ton cooker robot, I was really feeling like this extreme power, and I was afraid of my performance presence next to it. And it started like really, oh my God, that's gonna be like a technic show, right? It's gonna be a performer, or there are gonna be 3 performers, and there's gonna be this huge robot. But through the years working with it, I also acknowledged the fact that the robotic is a vessel, or as like an object as a vessel that it's moving, and it's also supporting, but it also can go against you. So it's really those 2 things that we cannot ignore. They're gonna be in our daily life, we're gonna work with it. Now I am in this, unfortunately, very pleasant situation that I'm allowed to already experiment and research in it, and more, if I go deeper into the topic, I could see that there are so many varieties of ways that would come out of that, of this connection, human-robotic or human-machine relationship. We have this since such a long time, right? Already a lot of artists started to experiment it in the 70s. Now with the AI rising, of course, all the topics come again. 5 years ago, if I would say robotics and AI, all the robotic specialists would say, no way, that's not gonna happen. And I was like, are you sure? Now we have 2024 and it's there. So I would say I would try to run with the horse of digital revolution, but make a very strong opinion on also, I'm not giving answers in my performance, so it's like a 2.5 hours performance with me spot on stage. But it needs that because it's a long, like I made it for a museum so that people can come in and out. But the truth is, people stay for 2.5 hours. I showed this at the La Biennale in Venice, at the opening of the Biennale, and it was cold, and the people were standing for 2.5 hours in the cold, watching the performance. And I was like, wow, what is it? Is it this uncanniness because you have the robotic and you don't really know how to handle it because you watch it and you're kind of intrigued by it because in one hand you feel like it can be a weapon, especially this spot from Boston Dynamics. Boston Dynamics would be before in the weapon industry. Now they are making helping or care robots or supporting robots. So I would say there is such a long or a variety of answers and solutions for the futures that you could touch in that performance when you watch it for a longer time.
Mraz in dolžina predstave na Beneškem bienalu nista bili nič v primerjavi z 8 ur dolgo Forever a Madness opero v izvedbi Dereka Ryana Claude Michela. Ustrajala sem kakšno uro in to je bilo čisto dovolj za preizpraševanje, kaj hudiča delam v galeriji Kandlerhofer, kjer smo sicer lahko tudi konzumirali pijačo. Dunajčani ne ploskajo samo zvezdam glavnega programa, ampak tudi tistim, ki se šele bodo zavihteli na različne odre. V seriji A-Tension je letos prišlo do sprememb kuratorjev in letos sta izbor prevzela kar 2, in sicer koreografa Chris Haring in Brianna O'Mara.
We didn't want to put any kind of strict boundaries around ourselves, so we knew that we're curating for ImPulsTanz, a contemporary dance festival, but we tried to allow all ideas and ranges of dance into that perspective. For me personally, it was also quite important to give chances to artists that we wouldn't necessarily find in platforms, so we did a lot of searching, also kind of internet deep dives to also find people outside of the already curated programs.
Chris, I always miss Slovenian dance group, so I know that you know our scene, but did you see some Slovenian performances maybe, or what is suggestion how to become a part of A-Tension?
Just apply for it, it's the best. Actually, no, in this case we didn't see it, but most of the time we were also like going to platforms, checking out things there. Brianna found a lot on through social media also, and in my case, for example, I tried to most of the time both of us are on tour, and then we just see things over there, or we just follow the suggestions. But I'm very much looking forward, of course, to Slovenian, and we know I have a strong Slovenian contact.
For the festival, it's wonderful because it brings fresh energy, new perspectives, and also some kind of feedback, some discourse around what we're presenting, what we are performing now.
As Brianna mentioned, with the invitation there is also it includes a residency, and there is also a award, basically the ImPulsTanz Young Choreographers Award with an international jury. At the end there will be one of those 11 positions will be selected to get the prize.
Med 11 izbranimi je tročlanska žirija izbrala 2 zmagovalca, in sicer nemško performanko Devo Schubert s predstavo Glitchcore in brazilski trio Vini Ventiana, Vitória Jovem in Irma z Brazil z Enunhans. Razdelile si bodo 5.000 evrov in prihodnje leto uživale 14 dni v brezplačnem rezidentstvu festivala. Dunajski ImPulsTanz je izjemno pomemben festival in k budžetu festivala 9 milijonov pripomore tudi mestna občina Dunaj s pomočjo mestne svetnice zadolžene za kulturo, Veronike Kaub-Hasler.
Having and hosting the biggest dance festival of the world, I would say, this means a lot to the city because it's visible everywhere. You can have it on the streets, you can find workshops wherever through the city in diverse districts, even in districts which are normally not so much, let's say, focused on art. And this is a very important thing that we have it in the city, and it's an impulse for artists, dancers, choreographers from all over the world, but also local artists. It's important for the scene, and it's important for increasing audience and with an interest for dance.
Direktor Karl Regensburger je z ekipo že v nizkem štartu za 42. edicijo festivala. Slovenski plesni ustvarjalci, prijavite se in pridružite se tej veliki poletni plesni družini.
We are totally surprised and amazed how great the festival really was. So we have altogether 180,000 visits, whereby 100,000 is paying tickets, 80,000 are for free, this like public moves and all the other activities we are doing without charging money, but everything is more or less full. It's already a question what to select of all the offers we are receiving. We are in this lucky situation that more and more companies want to make their premieres in Vienna. Of course, we have long-term collaborations with some choreographers, like, for instance, Ante-Resti Gersmacher and others, Sharon Bell, Trashal Harel. And of course, we're interested also in bringing the new production. So in reality, there's not even very much space for new things, but luckily we have the attention program. And this program is really giving fresh blood to the whole festival. This year with 11 new positions. Next year, I guess it will be the same. Maybe it will become 12, because also there is the demand to be in the program quite high. We have around 100 international scholarship holders from more than 50 countries, which is also quite an injection of energy.
But then I still realized it's a very stupid idea. You can't find dance with foreign content. Foreign.
To je bila še ena dunajska parada plesa. Plešite ponovno z nami čez 14 dni, ker veste, da je dan s plesom odličen dan. Lep plesni živjo!